Welcome to the Art to Heart podcast. My name is David Morn, and I'm a former corporate sales guy turned poet. And this is where we explore how finding your voice and creative expression can be the missing key to transform your life and the life around you. Thank you so much for stopping by today. Today I'm interviewing Chris Siders. This is a very deep, vulnerable, heartfelt man. He's experienced a tremendous amount of loss. He has flatlined. He died and came back in the hospital. And so we really go very deep into all things grief, loss, transformation, creative expression, healing, grieving, feeling, and going through the flow of life. This is one of the most beautiful episodes I've recorded to date. Very deep indeed. And this is also a very overdue episode. Chris and I began recording this interview at the end of 2022. We had some technical difficulties, and then we had to reschedule, and we didn't finish it until earlier in 2023. And so now I'm just now posting this in December of 2023, and so I really want to thank Chris for his patience in getting this out. This is a very beautiful episode, as I mentioned before. We go deep. And so here I want to give some quick intro on Chris. Through the content of his work, award-winning Los Angeles-based poet, music producer, and activist Christopher Siders encourages his audience members to think critically about social norms and how we subconsciously affect one another through our everyday behaviors. Within his own experiences as an activist, he is able to share his successes and failures and guide future activists at any institution to make positive decisions for the community to flourish and teach students to become a better ally for movements or areas of interest. Siders professionally performed alongside poets such as Rudy Francisco, Shihan the Poet, Ebony Stewart, and have graced stages such as Dominican University, Seaside High School, Beyond Baroque, and many more. In this episode, about halfway, Chris does mention at a show in Monterey Bay that there was a fan who came to see him and offered him a beautiful portrait. And I believe this person's name is Caro. And Chris pronounces Caro as a she in this episode, but he corrected me after that the pronouns is actually they. And so I would have removed that out of respect, but that particular piece of dialogue is what transitions us into a very beautiful conversation about abundance. And the part about abundance really needs to stay in this episode where we're talking about grief. And so I wanted to just make sure we had that correction there for Caro's correct pronouns as they. And something else, the first interview is probably about like the first 20-30 minutes, but there's technical difficulties that the conversation just ended abruptly, so there may not be as smooth as a transition after that, but it's all very relevant. And in that first part, those first few minutes, we talk about Chris's relationship to his father, and how he was alive at that time. But when we recorded the second half, we learn how Chris's father had passed since then. And so this is a very deep in the moment episode at the time we recorded it. And I just want to thank Chris for bringing his heart, for being as vulnerable as he was, and for giving us a glimpse into his life, into his emotions. But with that being said, this is a long one, and I tried to cut stuff out, but this was just all so much good information. And so without further ado, let's jump in. Thank you so much for coming. Chris, how's it going, man?
Man, you know that saying, it's okay to not be okay? I'm not okay. But, you know, I'm still here. I'm still pushing. Rough start to the year, but, you know, it's a lot to be grateful for, blessed about, and whatnot. So I'm just trying to have that mindset.
What would it take to be okay? Not like great, but like to bring you back to okay.
Getting a hold of my mental health. Cause like man, like being like a good chunk of last year, and shit, like around the time that we actually met, my I've been experiencing like a lot of physical health issues. Like that night of the performance, I was limping around because like my foot was out. And my foot was out from the end of February all the way up until April. April, I had my first independent tour, so I was flying and doing a whole bunch of other stuff. Then my foot went out again in the middle of May, and then my other foot went out in June, and then my body went out in
Bro,
July
bro.
for like 2 days, and I couldn't move. I had stomach issues, and I was trying to get a therapist like the entire time from April to September, but the medical system is trash. And
I
now
hear
I'm back
that.
at square one trying to get a damn therapist.
Damn, bro.
So yeah, it's been a lot, and I'm holding down 3 jobs, and then I'm doing my career, and I go on tour again starting the 17th. Yeah, man. Like,
Yeah, so I actually have this book that I'm gonna read. I told you I was gonna go on a trip soon. I bought it. It's called The Body Keeps the Score.
yeah.
And I was like, yeah, I need to read that. I heard about that book a couple years ago, and because even then I was having like some panic attacks, and I just wasn't ready to confront everything that was behind it. I'd rather just deal with the anxiety.
Mhm.
But I haven't read it yet. But I am so looking forward to reading that. And anyways, yeah, I just wanted to know if what kind of like lessons you've learned um, since all this has been going on, and like now that you have a full slate coming coming up soon. Yeah.
Cause man, well, it's interesting. Like you brought up that book, Body Keeps the Score. Literally, my body healed when I started to cry because I was going through so much over the past couple of years.
Mm.
Like when we met, like yeah, I couldn't walk on my foot. It went out for like a whole month and a half, and and then went off the tour. While I was touring, it went out again, and then my body shut down and all that stuff. So, and all that kind of came from a lot of I said street, a lot of grief, a lot of anxiety, a lot of stress,
Mm.
from things that occurred over the past 2 3 years, um and even with that, like I haven't learned how to deal with like my trauma, and that trauma stems from like things that happened in Monterey County with being falsely accused of sexual assault, with being homeless for like a year and a half to 2 years, going from couch to couch, tile floors, basements, garages, um, and
And this is as
just
a student. You were
uh,
homeless as a student,
graduate, graduate,
as a graduate. Oh, I thought this was during
graduate.
school.
Nah, this was after I graduate,
Oh
and
shit.
what happened with that is like expectations and people pleasing, uh, because like people had this like image of me, uh, of that like, yo, you could change things, like you got to hold on people, people are watching you as a role model, and I took that and I was like, okay, I can do this. Like I do see people like watching me. There are like kids and teenagers that was looking up to me, and even whole families that been with me through the whole course of my career, talking to mothers and fathers and guardians and everything. So I put my life at risk for the sake of others, and I learned you should never do that. I mean, to a certain extent, right? you know uh what we do as artists, we are putting ourselves on the line. We're risking security, because vulnerability, people could take that and flip it against you, which was what happened in my case with being falsely accused of sexual assault. Uh, so just I guess to give a quick background on that. Um, so I was 19 years old, and it was the first time I was ever intimate with anybody. I always
Mm.
had issues with intimacy as a kid, and even now as an adult to this very day, due to just seeing things growing up, and also being robbed at gunpoint when I was 12 years old. And so like I had a lot of anxiety, and I was actually later diagnosed with severe anxiety and PTSD. So
When
when
you
it
said you
came,
just cried recently, was that the first time you cried? And like how long?
first time I cried.
Was that
Um
like through all of this? You never cried through any of that, or you did, but it had just been a while. For
oh
because
no,
for the crying to be that healing, I imagine there was a ton of repression.
there was a ton of repression, but I'm a crier. I'm
Mm.
1,000% a crier. It's just that everything compiled up so fast. Okay, so before I get into like the case, I guess I'll just explain what happened like the past 2 3 years. Uh, I flatlined with COVID. I was in the hospital with COVID for a week. And on the third day, um, yeah, everything was getting blurry and then just went to black. And I just saw pink, white, and blue lights, and I felt that I saw God for the first time. So
Was
I
God
don't
the light? So wait, so you died. Hold on. I think
yeah. Yeah.
I think we need
Yeah.
to chill on
Yeah.
that
I
for a
was like, what?
second.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you died, bro. I feel
Yeah. Yeah.
like
I know. I just get him over that. Yeah, I died. Okay, next thing.
And so was God the lights? Or you saw the lights and then something else that was a God?
I just saw the
Or
lights.
your God? You just
Yeah.
saw the lights.
I just saw the lights. I just saw pink, white, and blue lights. And
What did it feel
um
like?
warm. It was definitely warm. It felt calming.
Mm.
Um it was just like, oh wow, like I guess this is it, like
Feel like peaceful,
wrap.
weightless.
Yeah, yeah, definitely that.
Dang.
Um and so
And what was it like coming back?
so when I came back, it was a bit painful. It's like they so
This is
doc
just minutes, right? Because yeah, this is like immediately, right
I
when they
have
brought you back, or how long? How long did you flatline?
I have no idea.
Mm,
I have no idea.
that's
I just
crazy.
woke up to a shot to the neck because they was about to put me in incubation. They was about to drill a hole and everything. Like it was, it was like that. And even like a good chunk of time at the hospital, I was relearning how to breathe. And there were moments where I was just sitting there and my heart rate would shoot up to 200, and I'm strapped to the bed. I can't move. So how is it possible? you know. So with all that, and yeah, I couldn't walk around the room. If I need to like use the restroom, I had to do it in front of them. And like when I did use the restroom, my poop was black. They'll have to wipe me down. I was too weak to even wipe myself, and they had to lift me back into bed. Um,
So it's like
so
you had to get your life and energy back, like all of your life force left with you, and you had to kind of wait for it to come back.
yep. And even like after being in the hospital, when I came back
Mm,
home, I was trying to get realigned spiritually. And my friend warned me, like, she was like, all right, like God is about to test you. And then like an hour after that conversation, everybody in my house got COVID. And my dad, he's been dealing with like a lot of health issues. Even just in 2021, like he was in the hospital for heart surgery, heart
damn.
transplant surgery.
Heart
Um,
transplant surgery?
yeah,
Oh shoot. How's you
yeah,
doing? Okay now?
he's doing okay. He's doing okay.
Damn.
It's yeah, it's been a lot. And so yeah, dealing with COVID, and then my dad's health, and then I lost my music group. I was part of a music group, Shadows of Society. We've been a group for over 10 years, friends for over 10 years. We don't speak anymore. Um I had to essentially start over with my entire life. Even from the way that I look, I was over 330 pounds. Now I'm 157. Um,
Damn,
and
congratulations.
uh, thank you. But like even with that, like I deal with body dysmorphia, and that's so uncomfortable because every time like I eat something, I feel the need to like jump on the scale to see if like
Mm.
I gain weight. Um, like I'm so paranoid with it. And even so, now of just where I grew up at, And starting from the point of when I was robbed at 12 years old, I get paranoid about just being around people. I've been involved in this wonderful community called Palms Up Academy in downtown LA, and they're so loving and giving. However, like there are times where like I feel like I have to like retreat because I'm like there's a catch to this. Someone in here is like plotting on me, and
Dang.
even like the poem that I'm gonna share later on about my sexual assault case. Um, I the first time I performed it was with that community, and I
Oh
felt
shoot.
like at the time I was getting my footing, so I was like, all right, let me do this. After I was done, I was crying profusely. Like I had to step out. I did not feel comfortable. I it was so triggering, you know. So there's a lot of pent up, unresolved trauma where my body was keeping score.
Mm.
And when I let out a lot of that crying and acknowledging how far I came, that's when like my foot started to heal up. And I'm still dealing with losses, like my grandmother and my grandfather, um, a week apart. One of them was the day after my birthday when I was performing out of town. You know, and I'm so paranoid of going out of town now, and like this is only my
Damn.
second tour coming up, and like I'm just thinking like, man, what the fuck is gonna happen when I'm gone? And like, so
Has your perspective of death changed since you had your dying experience?
um, I know that my
Maybe not
folks,
perspective, but like, yeah, what'd you leave with that?
I feel like my folks are being taken care of. I
Mm.
know that much, However, like I and see, it's so heavy just to think about death because like I still struggle with suicidal ideation. Um, Even like the first thought when like I started to travel for my first show last year on tour, I
Hmm.
was like, I could leave and not come back. I got all my shit with me. That was the immediate thought. Like, all right, I lost like all my friends. I'm new to this other community. Maybe I don't they don't give a fuck about me, you know? So the idea or the thoughts surrounding death is something I'm still grappling with.
Hmm.
Even in 2020, I lost my brother.
Yeah, damn.
Lost him to drug abuse, and um and we didn't speak for 8 years.
Oh shoot.
2012, we stopped speaking because it was music business shit, and that's again this music business, y'all. A lot of shit comes with it.
Hmm.
Even artistry, just in general. And unfortunately, that was the cause of everything. Um, and immediately, I was hard headed. I was stubborn. Like I got to take accountability for you know not being in tune or mature enough to have certain conversations.
Mm.
Um,
What exactly? What kind of conversations? Like you talking
so
about with your brother specifically, or in general?
with my brother specifically, and even now,
Mm.
when it comes to the case with my brother, so at the time, um, the family was like, "Yo, we hear that like you're doing so good with like spoken word and music, and da da da." And they was like, "We can make $1 million. We could do this and that, and da 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 with your art, and da da da." And it was just like, "Whoa, I'm still new to this," like you know what I'm saying?
Damn.
Um, and so, when like I was like trying to find the best way to decline like offers or whatever or like feedback, um and it was mainly coming from my grandfather, and he's one of, he passed away. That was one
Mm.
of my parents that passed
So
away.
thanks for like bringing all that up. By the way, like that's so much loss and so little time. So I just wanted to like just acknowledge uh how tough that must be, and thank you for sharing that.
Man, thank you. It's so interesting that you just, said literally just saying that so much loss in such little time. I didn't even think of it like that. And that literally just hit
uh,
me just now.
yeah. Well, yeah,
Like, oh,
and that's not. So I hate like bringing like asking and prying to people without like sharing on my own. I like to show I'm trying to meet you halfway, you know. And I
yeah.
say that because I was in the Peace Corps from 2018 from 2015 to 2018 for 26 months volunteering abroad. And in that time, I had uh, like three people like super close to me die, and like I didn't realize I was grieving at the time. Like I was like anxious, drinking, all this, and I didn't realize it was all this grief. And it's like because I never let myself own the fact that yo, this is a lot and this is not cool and I need some time to chill with this. Like I would just try to force myself to move on. And it's like, no, like that's not cool at all. And so it took me like 4 or 5 years now since then to like piece it together. Like, yo, that was grief. That was grief. And so and sometimes we're afraid to look at it and acknowledge it. And so that's anyways, yeah, that's all I'll go on.
Yo, man, like, I'm not gonna lie, like, it's hitting me right now. If I start crying, that's just what it is. Like, no, like, it's just like seriously though,
Yeah,
like,
and I didn't mean to laugh at you crying. I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
go ahead. I just,
no, no,
yeah,
I know that wasn't
yeah.
like a malicious laugh or
Oh,
anything,
okay,
but
cool.
it it's just like because this is bleeding into my current relationships with people that I hold near and dear close. I cling to
Mm.
people because I'm scared of losing them all the time. And like, holy shit, man. Woo, fuck. Yeah.
Take a minute, bro. Take a minute if you need it, man.
um, yeah. So my brother, yeah, that was before COVID. Um, and then like literally almost an exact year after COVID, my grandfather, and then a week later, my grandmother.
And
Um,
these were married. These are the same pair of grandmother and
different
grandfather.
sides of the family.
Different sides of the family. Either way, not like to lessen it. I just wanted to
Yeah,
like
yeah,
get context.
yeah. Different sides of the family. Um, and these are complicated relationships.
Mm.
Um, when we talk about generational damage, right? You
Mm.
know, it comes from somewhere, and
That's for
whether
damn sure.
yeah, and it's whether it's events that transpired or someone in the family, you know, and unfortunately, a lot of the generational damage my mother endured started with my grandfather.
Probably
Um,
beyond that.
probably, I
Yeah,
mean,
I'm sure it's even beyond that. That's just like what
yeah,
we can see. You know, our lifetimes are so long.
yeah, of course, and I'm just like just
Yeah,
speaking from the stories that I know
correct.
with my mother and then my grandmother and then my uncles, you know. Um, so there's been a lot of conflict with thinking about him and his death, and
Mm.
um, like yeah, it's a very complicated relationship. I wasn't, and because of like all of that, knowing all of that, like I wasn't really close with him like
Yeah.
that. Um, and he used to wonder why you don't come visit me like often or like talk to me, and it's just like there's so much that I heard and like you know, in things that you may think I don't know that I know, like
Yeah.
um, and the interactions between me and my mother, like it, as fucked up as it may sound, it started with you, you know, and So like that's a tough thing to let go. And because of the things of some complications between me and my mom, she's a great mother. Um, but enhancing or understanding emotional intelligence and communication and the lack thereof, you know, my mother, my the communication between us both. That's why I learned all these things, and it's not where it should be. And I'm not
Mm.
trying to place the blame on her, but her experiences with my grandfather, that's where it got fucked up. So,
I can relate, man. This is all the work I've been doing like these last few weeks and months. Like ever since I left my job, I just like kind of took some time to came back with family and shit. But I know I needed time to dive inside myself and to like just face some of this and figure it out. And like honestly, I'm at a this just this week. Literally, there's a reason we're having this conversation right now. Like I am dealing with all of the same exact shit. You know, like I have been so resentful towards my grandma because of how she treats my dad, and then my relationship from that. And
mm,
then, he's just like, why don't you call your grandma more? And it's just like, because like it started with her. And it did like start with her, but like and so yeah, and so it's like, yeah, you see how things are, and then you see what they should be, and then you just fill that gap in with like bitterness and resentment. And it's like I'm my dad. Like everything I dislike about him, it's about myself. And I want to say dislike about him. I think it's more just yeah, like things that you resent or you can't get over or you blame. Um and that's the shit no one wants to touch with the 6 foot stick. What's up, guys? So this is where the first interview ended, and now we're gonna jump into the second. Thank you. So, yeah, catch us up on what happened with the first leg of the tour that you just finished. You said you've been gone all month.
Yeah. So much happened. Man, I wish I would have brought the folder with me, but shout out Carl. So I went to technically my tour started in January. It started with Breaking Sound and then performing at Adults Only with Breaking Sound LA. And then I was gonna like hit little small venues in around the area and then head to Portland and then from Portland go to Washington, do Washington stuff and a whole bunch of different things. But hit a snag when the untimely, unfortunate passing of my father. He passed away on Valentine's Day and 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 yeah, so I had to put off Portland. And then like I went right back to touring like a day or two after his funeral. I went to Washington State University, did a workshop and a performance, came back down, performed at Los Globos. After that, um, Vegas, Reno.
This was all
Uh,
after your dad passed away
yeah, yeah.
on
Vegas,
Valentine's
Reno.
Day.
Yeah, Valentine's Day. So what happened was, that was the most wild of my entire life, and I've been through some shit. I've been through some shit, and I've seen some shit. So the events that led up to it, it was my dad's birthday, and my uncle came over, and he made this Build-A-Bear doll with with my dad's my grandmother, her voice built into it. She passed away a day after my birthday in September 2021. So then he came over, he yeah, gave him the doll and he was just in tears hearing her voice and it was a really emotional moment for everyone. And uh the very next day I was walking down the street. It was 7:30 in the morning, and I was meeting up with a friend at Santa Monica. She's been helping me get into Buddhism and in
Mm.
the practice of it. And yeah, and I'm walking down the street in my neighborhood, and this car started to follow me. And when I noticed, I turned around, I looked, and this guy flicked me off, and I flicked him off, and I kept walking. I know it's wild. Like again, 7:30 in the morning. And so yeah, I kept walking, and then he pulls up to um a parking lot next to me, to the left of me. And then he was just like, like waving me down to come to the car. And I was like, okay, like that's weird. So then I kept walking, and then I looked back, and he's whipping out of the parking lot, and then got on the street, started to again. And then I was like, oh shit, here we go. So like I'm speed walking now. And then he cuts me off in the driveway, like that's like in front of me. And then I bolted in the street. He whipped out of the driveway, and then it's like a full-on chase. Like I'm
What the hell?
running down the block. And as I'm doing this, I'm calling my dad. Well, yeah, I'm calling my dad, and um I said, hey, yo, someone's following me. And then he said, what? And then all I heard was like a thump on the floor. And my dad is old. He passed away at 63.
On the phone from there, from that?
Yeah, yeah, like on the phone. Like it was no. Like he didn't pass away from that, but like all I heard was like a thump. It was
While you were on
him
the phone with
like
him,
reaching, yeah, he was reaching for a shotgun. Um
while you're being chased.
while I was being chased. And I was saying like he's old, like he could barely walk. And like, so just him getting out of bed, reaching for the shotgun, and then when I got in the middle got on my block, he's standing in the middle of the street with the shotgun. And like the guy wasn't following me anymore, and I had to like help my dad and bring the shotgun back inside the house.
Oh, okay,
Yeah,
okay. I thought right
yeah.
then and there was.
No, it wasn't right then and there.
Oh,
But
okay,
like I'm
okay. I was
just
like,
painting the picture of the series of events that led up
gotcha.
to it, like because yeah, again, like with my uncle coming over bringing a doll, and then me almost getting kidnapped and being followed and all that stuff. And when I got to the Buddhist temple that day, like I like was screaming so loud, like I had so much anxiety because I was going through a lot at that time. um and a couple days later, February 2nd, I was DJing in North Hollywood for a friend's birthday party. And I was going through a lot of things with my depression, because I was going through a breakup at the time. Um and I kind of turned to some vices and different things of that extent, and I'm not proud of it. So it was already
Human.
like yeah, like it was already like a really emotional time for me. Um and so the yeah, so I was done with the DJing gigs, and it was like super late. Got to my friend's place at West Hollywood at 4:45 in the morning, and I got a call from my sister saying like, "Hey, Dad had an accident," and she's like crying frantically on the phone. I'm like, "Oh shit!" So I get in the Uber, come back home, and um yeah, my sister takes me from home to the hospital. The hospital's in Torrance, is St. Mary's. And um and when I got there, like paralyzed, the entire left side of his body paralyzed. Um
Yeah.
couldn't speak, couldn't couldn't really do anything. And what happened was he was getting out of bed, and he fell, hit his head on the dresser, and blood clot in his head, and had a stroke. Um, what did it was Because doctors were saying that it was looking promising that he was going to survive it. To take extensive physical therapy. Um, he got pneumonia and had a few seizures overnight, and his it was breathing hard, so the breathing is what took him out. Um, yeah, we got the news that he wasn't going to make it the 12th of February, and it was at that point, um, it was like, okay, do we, say our goodbyes now or just ease him off of it? And we was all like, no, like let's ease him off of it. Up the breathing machine. And I was at um a friend's house, crashing on their couch, and um in one morning I got news that they was like starting to ease him off the breathing tube, and I completely lost my shit. I screamed extremely loud, and I felt this strange sense of emasculation, as
Mm.
if I'm not a man because I can't hold it down, you know, that I can't keep my emotions in check. Um,
That was your first reaction after beginning to grieve?
yeah, was to scream extremely loud, lose my shit, and then like
Then
once
judge
I was
yourself.
and judge myself harshly. And I always been known to judge myself really harshly. It, it's anyone that really like knows me like for an extremely long time, I have a history of
Mm-hmm.
doing that. And it doesn't matter like small, how big, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is. Like I'm just really harsh on myself with everything that I do. And so
Were you able to move past that, like at least in that moment or in those few days, or is that something you're still trying to work past? What's going
um
on now?
in that in particular, like give myself a lot more grace. It took me
And
a
specific,
while.
I'm talking about specifically with your dad.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Specifically with that, yeah. Like
Oh,
it
okay.
took me a while. But I'm in a better place with
Mm.
that and not judging myself partially. But it took a minute. It definitely took a minute because the thing is, like, my dad been preparing me for this ever since I was a teenager. Um, 13 years old, he had a heart attack. And I remember seeing seeing breathing down his mouth. And we all thought like, oh damn, like this is it. And he pulled through. And what caused that was smoking addiction, drinking addiction. And he quit cold turkey.
Damn.
And so yeah, my dad was like, um, yeah, you're all right, you're gonna be the man of the house if something happens. And it just kind of became like a more like frequent conversation as the years went on. Uh, so it so many things happened, like because we had the COVID pandemic, and he caught COVID when I got it.
Mm.
Well, when I was recovering from it, and out of the hospital with that experience, and a few months later, he had a heart transplant surgery, and we was all terrified about that.
That sounds terrifying as hell. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was just like, yo, God is good. Like God got him through everything.
I heard
And
even the recovery of that is excruciating.
yeah, and he was recovering well.
Mm.
He was recovering real well because the reason why he really needed it is because like he will walk and will randomly faint. and it's like he could
Dangerous.
just, yeah.
When you said that he would prepare you and you would talk about it every now and then, what were those talks like?
I just
And
remember
was it just with you or with the whole family?
it was just with me,
Just with you.
just with me. Just saying, hey, um, again, like if something happens, you're the man of the house, you got to take care of everybody, and it's like I don't know the first thing about being like, the man of the house. Like especially like when I was younger, 13 and 19 years old, and then um
Re- Remind me of your family dynamics, like how many siblings you have? Are you
uh
the oldest?
youngest.
You're the youngest.
I'm the youngest. Yeah.
Interesting. So are you the only boy? You the only male? Were you the only?
Hmm.
Oh, okay.
I have other family members that I consider brothers because we literally like grew up together.
Okay.
And
Well, I
yeah,
just brought that up because it's not every day you hear the youngest being told they're going to be the man of the house.
yeah.
But that makes
um
sense.
yeah, like, and yeah, I have brothers that I literally grew up with, like that lived right next door to me as a kid.
Hmm.
And um and Carter, he was one of my brothers. He passed away March 2020 to a drug overdose. So
This year too, or
uh,
last year?
March 2020.
Oh, I thought you said March 20th. Okay, March 2020. Damn.
But I did lose a cousin this past March to sickle cell.
Damn.
Yeah. So it's been a lot of grieving, a lot of shame, a lot of anger. Because I remember when I would go out a lot, like there's this look my dad would have on his face, like, you going out again and again
Hmm.
and again. And like, because at the time I had 3 jobs, and like I had so much shit to do, and I was DJing and I'm still DJing at the Museum of Contemporary Art, and then like I had my tour, and then I was working on my 4th book, and things was like, and still moving. However, within that hell week of like being followed and all that other shit, I
Hmm.
actually lost my 3rd job. Like I got fired because of
Your
some,
third job, you said it?
yeah, my 3rd job.
Mm.
I was fired over some bullshit. Because yeah, I kind of don't even want to get into that. And
um,
all I know is that the motherfuckers been using my name for clout, and I don't appreciate that. So,
mm.
like, if y'all see this interview, get at me because I don't want to fuck with that. Um,
what
so
what has grieving looked like for you? When you said you've been grieving a lot,
anger,
so your
a
grief is
lot of anger.
manifested in your anger. Mm.
Hmm. And it's interesting that like, friends look like when presented with certain situations, some friends will be like, "I'm surprised you're not like really angry about this," and and I'm like, "Oh no, I'm pissed. I'm mad. I just don't show it." Because the thing is, as a black man, if you show it's emotion, especially anger, that will get you killed. That will get you hurt. So in this case of me being anger, I don't want to portray the angry black male stereotype, you know. So I got to keep a lid on my emotions at virtually all times. And it's so hard to hold it together.
Your
Uh,
performances make more sense now.
that's
That's where
why
you let it all out. You just leave it all on the field, so to say.
I'm so intense with
That's
the
why you be
stage,
staying. That's why you're staying on tour. That's why you're always moving. Damn. Oh shit. I would.
because like,
Damn.
yo, like I I love my folks, but like my mom does not show emotion around me. She does not like to show emotion. So when I do catch her crying, And I'm like, Mom, let it out, let it out. And because like in the midst of like her revealing herself, I want to be there and grieve with her as well. I want to let her out too.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
But then after a few minutes, she'll be like, "Oh no, I'm good, I'm good, I'm good, I'm fine, I'm fine." And
mm-hmm.
then I'm like, "I'm still in this place." and then
And it's
like,
so hard to just like say that. Can we stay here a little while longer? Like,
mm-hmm, yeah. And then my sister, she just doesn't show it. She just doesn't show it. I only seen her cry the night that we got the news and at the hospital when he did pass.
mm.
And so um
So has any of your grief involved you allowing yourself to go and cry and mourn, or is it mostly just with anger?
yeah, I definitely cried
Okay.
and mourned, but the main ways has been like screaming violently. Um
Mm.
my friend Liz, the night before the funeral, like I had to call her and like, hey, can you take me on a night drive? And like I lost my shit in the car
Mm.
and I screamed out the window and I lost my voice. And the family had me perform at the funeral. And
Your family.
yeah, yeah. Um perform at the funeral and and then I had a performance in Washington like a day or two after, you know. So
Is
and
having that tour right away, is that something you wanted to have so you can have make sure you had that outlet? Or is that just something like you didn't want to cancel for I mean, I'm just yeah, I guess I'm just kind of wondering why that's something you didn't want to reschedule again or the decision behind like kind of not staying home or if that why that wasn't an option.
that's something that I'm still kind of deconstructing a little. Um,
Mhm.
because my dad always told me as a kid, like, never let anyone fuck with the money. So you doing good. You always put your best foot forward. If someone gets in your face, if something happens, wherever the case is, never let anyone fuck with the money. So the day of his passing, I actually um had a performance that night, and I was supposed to go to Portland the very next day. Um, I remember after we left the hospital, we was home, and then after 2 hours, I caught the bus to Hollywood to do the show. And um, before going on stage, I cried a lot, and I did my part of the show, cool. And then afterwards, I broke down again,
Mm.
and then after the whole event, went to the homie's place, and while they was out celebrating, I stayed in their place and I was making music. I banged out like 3 to 5 songs and just making the beats and then just writing. And because again, it was so many things going on at the time, um, just emotionally, alongside with my dad passing. So in I'm and I'm doing better now. I'm doing a lot better now. But back during that time, I was really struggling because I was partaking in my vices,
Mm.
and mm, and this is so I don't do drugs. I don't drink. Um, but there is there is a, a issue of lust, kind of. Well, not I wouldn't say lust. I would say like intimacy. Um, I went and like hooked up with someone like that day, like right before the
Mm.
show. And that person, um, it was a complete stranger, and they were saying like, "Yo, like, are you okay?" Because like I told them like what happened. Oh, that's my dog. Yeah.
So they could tell right away that something was up with you. Oh, you said you told them. You said you told them.
yeah. I told them hey, like I'm not feeling good. Like there's so many things going on. My dad passed away. And they was like, oh, like you're gonna remember this day your entire life. You're gonna remember exactly what you did. And they was telling me like the they they said like when they lost their mom, um, they remember vivid detail what happened that day, and that happened about 3-5 years ago. That's what they
Mm.
told. Um, and yeah, um, with that, at the end of March, before leaving like home for like a month straight, I drank a little.
Mhm.
I wasn't drunk or anything. I wouldn't even say I was. I don't even know what it means to feel buzzed too. That's another thing. So, but because I truly don't do anything.
Yeah.
So, but the fact that I did these things, it just feels like so out of character. You know, like I'm not sexually active like that, and
Well,
I
I
don't
mean,
drink. So
I
I
think
don't
that's
know.
your grief too. You know, that's your grief too, especially in the immediate aftermath of it. That's gonna manifest in who knows how many different ways. It's a new way of existing. You know, when you start to grieve, it's like you're kind of you're entering a different dimension in some ways. You know, and it's like, yeah, that's stuff that we never really talk about, but like you're kind of in your own portal thing, and you're like your own energy of there's like an in between that kind of happens during that. You know what I mean? And so it's like it's really unexplainable, especially because no one ever talks about it, and no one ever gives each other the space to even talk about what it means besides just crying. And then usually a lot, you know, you weren't alone in judging yourself right after crying. That's so many people. You know, I remember when my grandpa passed away, we were in the hospital, and my dad, he just kind of turned and faced the corner and just put his head down to cry by himself right there. You know, and it's like even in all our own ways, we're all trying to hide it, and it's just ingrained into us so much.
Mm.
Um, yeah, so it's gonna come out in 1,000 different ways. It's gonna come out who knows how many different ways.
And that's like, yeah, that's the interesting thing. Because with that, with the lesson of drinking, I made an album, and I made this album in a week
Oh,
because I was so distraught. Um,
I was
because
wondering. I was like, he has another album coming out already. Jay just launched his other one like last week. I was like, yo, so that makes sense. That's
yo,
creative energy is a way of grieving too, man. It just wow. Anyway,
I
I interrupted you. Sorry, but go ahead.
oh no, you're good. I actually have, including this one, I have 3 albums that I made in
Mhm.
the span between um mid-April, because that's when like the one that's coming out soon, it was officially finished, like mixed and mastered and everything. But I've written and produced it all in a week. But yeah, between like mid-April to the very last week of December last year, I made 3 albums. One of them is a double disc.
Damn, dude. Do
I was
you?
so distraught. I have a lot going on.
Yeah, of course. I'm curious if you have anything from that you'd like to share. Like to kind of give space for that.
um, like a verse or something. Is that what you mean?
A verse, or if you have a poem you've written in that time, or if you want to like just rap without music. I don't know, whatever you got. But I think you know, because we're talking about that being a way of grief, and so I think it'd be really helpful to kind of see the kind of art you've made while
Uh,
experiencing that. I mean, obviously you don't have to, but it would. I think it would. I think
Actually,
it would do it some service
yeah, okay.
just to give it some air to breathe and kind of celebrate it in a way.
There's a song off the album that's coming out this month, um, in May. It's called A Sunset for the Deceased.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah, I'll share a few lines from that song.
Sunset for the deceased.
Um, I said, fatal attempts of catching skies to find a rain, falling to only step my past the rain, a dead service upon a mornings where my mother face attempts to shine through the dark side of our melanated hue. Father bestowed lessons before his passing. Yeah, that's all I remember. So yeah, that's your few lines. You gotta get
Thank
the
you,
album.
bro.
Yeah.
No, for sure, get the album. Melanated hues. You had a really tight flow.
uh, yeah.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Sorry for putting you on the spot like that, but
Oh no, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. Yeah, I just have so many. Yeah, again, so many songs I've written since then. So like, it's kind of like hard to process everything, and also with me like getting back from Humboldt at 3:30 to 4 a.m. this past morning, and only sleeping for 2 hours because my body wants to wake me up at 6 a.m. randomly. I don't know why. And the crazy thing, so that's like a 10-hour drive, and I was with the homies. So
from
we
Humboldt, yeah, it's a long ass drive.
we had to leave right after I was done with like my 20-minute set. So like, yeah, I was performing, and then I was like, oh yeah, we gotta go. So like, I'm fried. I did like 5 back-to-back shows in that week.
And so, I mean, I was gonna ask if that's part of your grief, but I don't. You were busy like that even before all of this has happened,
Not like that.
and so not like this. So it
Not
is. You
like
think it is
this.
part of your grief, or you're just trying to get as much done as you can? Because I'm glad that you said you got some time before your next leg of your tour. That way, you're not just going completely. But it's one thing you got to protect your money, but you also got to protect your peace, and you got to protect yourself too.
Yeah, and that was the lesson with this trip to Humboldt. It I was like faced with a lot of challenges there. It is nothing with the locals or anything. I got a lot of love for Humboldt and the word Humboldt community, Richard's Gold Tavern, and all those good folks. Shout out to Marvich, or shout out to Will Gibson, the whole family, and Dylan Collins. The So how a local described it to me is that people go to Humboldt um to face themselves. And if they can't handle it, then they quickly leave. I remember my first night there, and this is my second time ever in Humboldt.
Because the nature.
So they call it the redwood curtain, where nothing comes in and stays there, like culturally or energy wise. At least that's how it was processed to me when I was speaking to folks about this. It's basically essentially like a bubble, pretty much. Um, One person even described it as like the forgotten place in California. So, and I could definitely see that because like, in a different way, Monterey County is that way. Monterey County is a bubble. I always often described it as one of the most strangest places ever. Like, and I spoke to people that travel all around the world, and they said like Monterey County is a very strange place. And but
Strange how, and strange how compared to Humboldt. I just kind of want to get some more context on what you mean by like the mirror or the red curtain. You said like nothing stays the same there. Like what do you mean by that? Sorry if I misquoted you.
Oh no, you good, you good. Well, in I can't really compare the two,
Mm.
because I never lived in Humboldt. I'm
Oh,
not
okay.
local, you know. The reason why I was saying the using the bubble like metaphor in regards to like Monterey County and Humboldt, like because
Mm-hmm.
Monterey is like a bubble.
Yeah.
It's a very small town. A lot of nothing really like changes there. And that's what was at least processing to me when I was speaking to locals. They were saying like certain things just don't change. The redwood curtain phenomenon.
Okay. Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
So to kind of stay in their traditions, just old school and or not even that.
it just it's just harder to get things moving, at least that's
Okay.
what kind of like processed. So but yeah, being there, yeah, I was just like, nah, man, I want to go home. Like it was something where like that was just like really challenging like my core, and I just felt extremely uncomfortable, and I couldn't like really pinpoint it. But I remember there was something someone told me a while ago. I forgot who told me this, but like they said, if you want to be closer to God, go in nature.
Yep.
Humble, it's a forest.
Yep.
You're surrounded by nature.
Went and
Um,
visited a friend there in college, and I was like, I was walking with her to her class, and we're walking through a trail. We're walking
mhm.
through the I was like, what? This is you're walking through the forest to class? Why did I know about this? I would have gone there. Anyways, that was a little quick detour.
Yeah,
It's
and
beautiful. It's gorgeous there for sure.
definitely. And so the experience that I had was this happened. This was what grounded me. This is what made me feel more comfortable and like facing myself. And honestly, after this experience, I felt a lot more at ease. And actually, I feel actually kind of happy. Like, I know it really seems strange with this like heavy conversation now, right? But I actually feel a lot more at ease. I'm just tired because of all the traveling and everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so um me and my two friends that I traveled with, Tani and Zen, we went to a zoo in Samoa. It's in Humboldt County, and right next to it, it's like a small little park slash forest. We went through the forest, and it was just supposed to be a peaceful, tranquil walk. Everything's cool, everything's great. Um, and we got finished with the trail, head back to the car, and it was like the keys is missing. Someone dropped the keys, and I had an hour. From that point, an hour to my next like scheduled performance.
And how far were you from the scheduled performance?
Uh, I think 10-15 minutes away from that
Damn.
location. And like,
Chris, like I'm about to start walking over there to go get those keys right now.
yeah, yo, like, and so the thing was like, okay, you know what? Tani called AAA. Zen stayed at the car. Me and Tani went to the forest and like try to retrace our steps and like find the keys. So I'm looking at the ground like really intensely, and I'm right behind Tani. I look up, he's gone. After a few minutes, gone. I'm like, that's weird. Like, that's very strange because it's just a trail.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, interesting. I didn't panic. And this is when I realized that when it comes to life, everything is a choice.
Hmm.
How we respond to things.
Yeah.
At that moment, I could have very well lost my shit. I could have been angry. Like all the anger that I was feeling, that could have definitely raged out right then and there. But I chose to stay calm. Like, okay, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. Gotta look for these keys first and foremost.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
that was a rental car too.
Oh shoot.
So like we would have all been fucked if we didn't have that. So,
And they keep all the keys together, so it's not like you had a spare somewhere.
yeah.
They'll keep like 2 or 3 sets of keys all together.
So then, after like 10 minutes, something was telling me start talking to my dad, and had this intense conversation with my dad. And I was asking, like, how did you keep it together in days that like you didn't know what to do? Like days where you wanted to like give up.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like how do you love from like a place of anger? You know? Um, and and it's wild. Like the kids that I went to school with in high school, a good like a large population of those students in high school, they didn't have both parents in the household, a large population. I remember we had like a special guest lecture in the ninth grade, and for some reason I don't know why they asked like who has both what students have both parents in the household. I was the only one that rose my hand out of a class of 30. And then they was like, okay, who has at least like one parent in the household? Like a few rose their hand. Okay, who's living with their grandparents? A good chunk of them,
Wow.
you know. Um, Pops was really a superhero, and um, he really made that happen. And taking those characteristics, those traits, applying it to my everyday life, um, and my work ethic, people used to compliment me and say like, "Oh yeah, you're my hero. You're like a superhero." Nah, nah, nah. And I would quickly shoot that down. I'm like, I ain't no damn hero. Like, and because again, that whole harsh on myself mentality, like I can't be no hero. I I done too much fucked up shit. I hurt too many people, and then, but after talking to my dad, I'm like, nah, I can be,
It
if
was
not
this.
already.
You're still talking about the forest when you were talking to him in the forest?
Yeah,
Okay.
I was like, yeah, nah, like I can be if I'm not already. You know, and that made me smile. I started to believe in superheroes, and funny thing is, right after that, I got the call from Tani. I
Found the
found the
keys.
keys.
That's how it works. That's how it works, man. That's how it works. Wow. Your dad just needed to talk to you.
It was all meant to happen.
Hmm.
And
That's
that day,
beautiful, man.
yeah, and that day, well, that night, did the show and connected with some folks, and I started to allow myself to receive love and not question it.
Hmm. Not question it. Those are 2 equally hard battles. Receiving it and then not questioning it. Damn.
Yeah. And
What are the residual? How has that impacted you now? This was just yesterday then, a couple days ago. This is recent, very recent.
this was just last week.
Last week. Yeah,
This
this was
was
last week.
that happened Thursday. That happened Thursday last week. I'm
Hmm.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around it because so many things happened, and you know, because I opened up to someone and like we the yeah, I was allowing myself to receive versus combating because like that's the natural.
Surrendering, just surrendering.
Yeah, learn how to
Mm.
surrender.
What was it? What was it like talking to your dad? Like, did you see him? You heard him? You felt him? What was that experience like? Like, or were you just sitting there with your eyes closed?
I was just walking and just said everything that was on my mind because it was again, I carry so much guilt and shame because I kept thinking like, yo, if I was at home instead of like working all the damn time, if I helped him out with his weight loss, because he would always get on me like, oh, like, can you help me like lose weight like what you did? Because um,
Mm.
I lost over 160 pounds in a year. I was always the big kid. I'd never been this small. So this is through the clear.
160 pounds in a year. I think you mentioned that in that last time we talked about. I don't remember that.
Yeah.
160 in a year, bro. Holy shit.
Yeah. God told me to step on the scale one day and then it just clicked. um
Well, what's God gonna tell you go to lottery, right? Like, no I'm kidding.
I mean, hey, actually,
Now
you
that
shall
is a
receive.
lottery. You got your health. That's a fortune right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's worth.
Actually, you shall receive, you know.
Damn, man.
And so, like, yeah, it was just a lot of guilt and a lot of things that I bared on my heart and my soul. Cause like not only with him, my cousin that passed away in March, I was kind of the same way with her. Um, she would call, she would text, and like I'm just always on the move and doing different things, and like I would forget to get back to her.
Mm-hmm.
Her last message was, I love you. I didn't open that message. I saw it when it pinged on my phone.
Randomly, or was that like to cap off a conversation?
It was just random.
Just random. Oh shit.
And that was shortly after my dad passed away.
Mm.
Um, and when my grandmother passed away, my dad's mom, same thing. The night of my birthday, I was with some friends in Monterey. I was out of town performing, and she texted me happy birthday. I saw the text, but I didn't open it. I didn't reply. And next day she was gone. Um, my auntie that was with her the night before on my birthday, um, my auntie said that Granny said, I'm ready to go. She passed.
There's something powerful about ready when you said ready to go. Because I remember when same thing with my grandpa was on his deathbed and I was texting my brother, like kind of updating him, and he's like, "Grandpa's gonna go when he's ready to go." And there's so many reasons people would wait. I just finished taking a class actually like last night about this, and yeah, essentially like you'll wait, you'll find a reason to wait for something if there's something like if there's someone you need to hear, there's someone you want to hear from, whatever the reason is, like typically there's like one last thing you would want to hear or something like that. But like people wait. There's been people in like comas for who knows how long, or just in the on yeah. Anyways, you're getting off point, but yeah, I think that's just really beautiful that just when they're ready, and it's really hard. I think that's hard to take in as an outsider.
Mhm.
It's really hard to just listen to that and accept it and be like they're ready, like because we're never fucking ready. We're never ready. We're
Yeah.
never ready. And damn man. So that's yeah, dude, that's just overall like you've experienced tremendous amount of loss.
It's truly been a lot. And, you know, literally the morning my cousin passed away from sickle cell. Um, that was literally hours before one of the biggest shows I ever had to do. performing at Los Globos.
Hours before she passed before.
Out that morning. That
Mm.
morning, I woke up. I saw a Facebook status from my uncle. He was in disbelief. So yeah, and then I call him, and then yeah, that it happened. At the time, I was at a friend's place because I was getting ready for the show. Because that day I had a lot to do. I had to conduct an interview with my friends, DJ at the Museum of Contemporary Art, um, the a modeling shoot, a studio recording session, and the performance. Literally back to back to back to back. I ain't had time to sit, and even at the show there was some bullshit.
Yeah.
Like just emotionally with like people, and
Something that I was going to ask you a question earlier, and what you just brought up reminded me to ask it is sometimes it can be very hard or difficult to notice or experience, but often, and not even just with life or with the life of a person, but when something dies in our life, whether it's a relationship, whether it's a part of your identity, whether it's a hobby or an interest, whatever it is, usually when something dies, there's usually a new life that follows.
Mhm.
And so that's what I thought of when you said right when your cousin died, you had one of the biggest shows you've ever had, and so that's like a life that came from it. And I'm wondering if you've noticed any life that's risen from the other losses you've experienced.
Absolutely.
Well, yeah, you said 3 albums and a double disc, like
Yeah, like I mean, those are the things. And yeah, and see, in a different way, like how you phrased it, I used to phrase it a different way, that like one energy leaves, another energy comes in.
Mhm.
So like, um, it just allows room again for you to experience new things. But with these deaths and things going on, there's been sparks of abundance. And I've been having this conversation with my friend Tani about this. Um, and when these sparks of abundance come in, it's like, no, I am good. I'm good. And then like you try to cling on to it for dear life. And because you never know, or you have this fear of like of it going away. But
that's
then
that scarce abundance right there.
but then the crazy thing is it never went away. It never goes away. It's just all in the mindset. It's all in the mind.
To be clear, what exactly do you mean by abundant? Just like full of life force and life and gratitude. What does that mean to you? Just to kind of give more of a hint of what you're talking about.
Life force, gratitude, like for example, um, again, like with my humble situation, um, like
Synchronicities. You can get more synchronicities.
yeah, and I was just like, nah, I am abundant. Like this is great. Like after like talking to my dad, I'm like, yeah, I'm full of life. I'm good. I'm good. And then like next day, had the show, packed fucking room, and like, you know what I'm saying? And like, I'm taking more risk with people, um, in in maneuvering in these spaces and cultivating relationships with people. Um, and I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'm fucking good. And the crazy thing is too, I had a whole full circle moment. My old university hired me to perform for the Black graduation,
Oh shit! At Monterey Bay.
Monterey Bay. I
Oh
haven't
shit.
done that. I never done that outside of being a student.
Mm.
And I think this is the first time where like it's a legit musical act in the middle of the ceremony. Like aside from like, like singing every voice and sing, and aside from that, like a straight up hip hop set.
That's fire, bro. Congratulations.
That's crazy, and
They've been watching.
yeah, and that's what I'm talking about.
They've been watching.
Abundance,
bro. Fuck.
It.
And did the abundance start after your dad, or did you notice it before your dad?
I
had a thought come, if I can share it when you finish explaining that.
Yeah. I noticed it after my dad. Actually, after when I told myself, yo, like, why am I doing this? When I was like drinking, I was like, nah, this ain't me. Why am I doing this? And I cut off some friends, some people I was dealing with. I took a step back in the community that I was with, and it's no shade to the community. It's just me needing to take inventory. And then when I was traveling, I went to Reno, and again, I mentioned this at the very beginning of the interview. This woman named Cara, she like at the end of the show, gave me a drawing portrait of me. I never met this person a day in my life.
And you were live with this abundance.
It said, hey, I know that you've been struggling with like self-image. Again, don't know this person. Never had a conversation. At least from what I can recollect, I don't remember having a conversation. Saying like, I know you've been struggling with like self-beauty and self-care and different things like that, but I want to remind you that you are beautiful.
Wow.
And gave me this drawing.
What a beautiful gift.
That almost brought me to tears. That was just wow. And then that's when it was like even more like abundance.
Well, what I've learned about that kind of abundance, that kind of life that comes to you is when you take it in and when you notice it and acknowledge it and appreciate it, that's what like triggers it to bring in more. Like, all right, they love it. Bring it more. If you allowed yourself to stay close to it, they'd probably get less and less. But it's the relationship and the fact that you've allowed yourself to feel and enjoy and feel worthy of that abundance.
That's the issue. That was the thing.
Feeling worthy of it.
Yeah, I always had an issue with like never feeling that I was worthy of it. And yeah, I just felt that I was never worthy of it. And
did you have an experience with anyone else that had passed away like you did with your dad, or was that like kind of that first time you had that experience? Because I'm wondering what came to mind while you were talking about all of that is that obviously it was profound to be able to interact and communicate with your dad, but I think the other side of that coin is kind of like realizing that like death isn't the end. It's like, oh shit, it's okay, like it's all right, like I'm talking to him, like it's like a truth that overwhelms the body of like death isn't the end of the road, like we've been led to believe. At least that's what came to mind for me, because when I put that together, the mind just blew open, like things that used to matter and used to weigh me down no longer did.
I I really do think that death isn't necessarily the end of the world. Like,
You also
'cause-
had a near death experience that we didn't talk about now, but we talked about in the previous episode.
man,
No, not a
look,
near death. You did die, and then you
I
came back.
died and
You
came back.
died and then came back.
I flatlined from COVID. This is before the vaccines,
Yeah.
and you know, there's I could definitely confirm that there's something more than what we're
Did
seeing now.
Did you feel anything similar to when you were communicating with your dad to when you had died? Was there anything similar that you felt like a familiar energy? Like, oh, like this feels familiar. You know what I mean?
Mm-mm. No,
Mm.
no, I didn't. But it was definitely weird and strange. Like, like it was peaceful and it was warm. It was just, just one of them things you can't really describe because I just saw pink, white, and blue lights, and I'm just like, yo, this is weird. And then yeah, and then God brought me back. It was like, nah, you ain't done yet. You ain't done yet. You still got more shit to do.
Do
So
you? Oh, that's wild. I mean, random. It doesn't even really matter. But like, do you feel like in that moment, if you wanted to wait to come back, you could have kind of stayed in limbo for a while, or it was no, get the fuck out of here. You're going back.
wait, say that again.
When you died, you said
Uh-huh.
you're around the lights, and then you're like, no, just kidding. I have to go back. Like, was it a decision for you to come back, or you were brought back and you just
Oh,
came to
I was brought back, I
brought
believe.
back?
Like, I mean, because like, that concept of surrendering control, I'm not really in control.
Hmm.
I'm not like, just like I was placed in that situation. Like,
Is that the lesson you learned from that experience, or you already felt like that before that happened?
the lesson with that experience is the mind is a powerful thing. And like, if you're not careful, you can slip up and kill yourself
Whew.
on accident. Um, because that year I was so depressed with losing my brother, losing Evan, and then uprisings, the riots going on with George Floyd. Um, and I was listening to "Me Against the World" by Tupac on repeat.
Hmm.
Tupac spoke of the power of the tongue many times in interviews and the self-fulfilling prophecy.
Self-talk.
Yeah, yeah, and there's a song off that album called "Death Around the Corner." Played it every day. I don't know why. I just played it every day.
Do you memorize
um,
it? Do you want to recite any lines from it?
um,
I don't think if I've heard it, I don't remember it.
I don't remember any lines because I
Mm.
haven't listened to it since then.
All good. I was just
Yeah,
curious.
I put it down. It's still my favorite Tupac album, the album as a whole. I
Mhm.
think it's his best work, but I have not that song in particular, I have not listened to at all. Um, but yeah, that self-fulfilling prophecy and having that mindset. The things that you consume is what you are. I was consuming that and not knowing it. And then that's what landed me in the hospital.
Damn.
And so yeah, and I see it all the time with people that my friends, the people that I communicate with, like, you know, that believe that can't break themselves out of a funk, you know, like, and yeah, it's hard. It's hard. Not taking that away. No one can take that away.
If it was easy, everyone would do that.
Yeah. But like, you got to be mindful of what you're consuming, who you're around, the environment, and all those things is always against people of color. What do we see when we go outside? who are our role models, what kind of education system we're getting. That's what fucks us in the end. When I go to teach spoken word in my classrooms at Fairfax High, LA High, I always make sure to inject conversations of emotional intelligence. Knowing what emotion is coming up for you. That could save your life.
Literally for you, like you were talking about, like how you have to be extra careful of that being a black male.
Yeah.
Damn.
Because if you can't recognize that you angry and you go out somewhere and you just doing shit because you can't really identify like what it is, not knowing how to like take a step back, like, oh, I'm feeling this way. If I do something, maybe I should take a step back. So that could save a life. But
are they usually receptive, your students?
At LA High, at Fairfax, it's a little bit more challenging because I'm dealing with ninth graders. You know, like at the age of like, like I don't care about school, different things like that. Shit,
I was just subbing a class a couple days ago, and it was a freshman studies class, and I wasn't lecturing him, but there was an aide in there. Like, ain't no gonna listen to a sub lecturing nobody. Like, you know what I mean? Like, if anyone. And so there's a teacher aide in the class, and he started lecturing the kid, and he was just sitting there. You can keep talking. I'm not gonna listen to shit you're saying, dude. Like, it's like I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care. I was like, these kids really aren't gonna care. Like, yeah, maybe after a while when they know that someone is going to be there for them long enough. I don't know. Every situation's different, but yeah, that age group, if they don't care, they're not going to give a fuck.
Yeah. But I mean, that doesn't mean they're not paying attention though.
Correct.
Yeah. Like, cause they definitely do pay attention. What I find interesting is that when other teachers enter the classroom, they will have a difficult time like trying to. I actually sometimes get them to calm down. It's just them like really grasping the lesson.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm trying to figure out like a happy medium to where like it's easy for them to digest and then make it more accessible. That's the difficulty that I'm kind of facing as an instructor. Because I go to my background before doing high school. I was teaching in the prison system. I was doing college workshops and different things to that extent.
Like, I just did a workshop in
Oakland.
Curriculum.
Yeah, I built my own curriculum, and it's called Power Review. Power Review. Yeah, Power Review is a curriculum where like it's discovering the voice within yourself. And through discovering the voice within yourself is understanding the emotions that you carry. So that's kind of what it is in short. And yeah.
Good shit, man. That's I'm probably gonna have to pick your brain about that another time because I'm trying to build a curriculum myself right now.
Oh, for sure.
Because I want to do similar stuff. I want to go to schools around here.
Yeah, definitely do that. Yeah, and I'm with a nonprofit, Arts Bridging the Gap. That's how I got the job.
Got it. Okay. So I'm curious, how has because you've dealt with an insane amount of loss, but you've also been experiencing otherworldly amounts of like abundance, like you said. And so how is this shaping who Chris is today and Chris as an artist? Like do you see your role as an artist changing? I mean, I think it's always going to change, but like, I guess from what you wanted out of being an artist before, and then after all of these losses happening, all these deaths happening, what do you see as your future for as an artist now?
So, what's funny? And that's actually something I'm still chewing on, but I just written like a blog post today. And within that blog post, there was something that I remember that a poet said while I was performing at Humboldt last week. Again, Humboldt was a transformative experience. That was wild. This poet said, poets distance themselves from self to get closer to you.
Repeat that.
And they said, poets distance themselves from self to get closer to you.
Yeah.
And that got me thinking. I was like, I'm not going to do that. I'm never going to do that again. That is a sense of, how do I explain it? Why do I got to put myself through the hellfire for it?
I didn't perceive it that way. I didn't perceive it as putting yourself through the hellfire. I put it, I saw it completely the opposite way of that, in that
yeah,
I think part of being a poet is like your perspective is kind of transcending a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so I think there's a way to be beside yourself without filling yourself up with them.
Mm.
You know what I mean? Is that how I perceived? Did I perceive it right? What you were trying to say right now? How it's like putting yourself aside to take in all of their bullshit.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I guess I'm taking it in like a different way or processing a different way, but that's exactly what I was thinking. I guess like, why do I gotta take in someone else's bullshit? That's my thing.
I just formulated mine. It's not so much you're taking it in, you just have that much space to give.
Okay, yeah, I see.
You know what I'm saying? I guess that's from my perspective. It's just like I can take that right now, you know, like I can sit here and have like this conversation with you and like be completely with you instead of like worrying kind of about like, oh man, like I hope I'm not like taking in all of this from him or anything like that. And I hope you're not offended with that example, but I think there's a certain power to having to be able to do that. And I think that's where I'm interpreting that quote from.
I guess with my experience, how I took it as is that like, you know, I have the habit of people pleasing, and I have the habit of, yeah, like literally distancing myself to take on other people's things, but then those other people, they don't necessarily take the steps for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's what I had the issue with. And that's why I was like, oh yeah, I'm never going to do this again. And so this like upcoming project, this album, I call it my most revealing work yet, in the sense of like, you're going to truly know how I truly feel. And like, I'm not going to put myself aside to take you in. You're just going to listen and experience what I had to say. And if you want to take it in, cool. If you don't, cool. And that's kind of like the space that I've just been in.
How's your writing process been? Your voice? Have you seen like just a whole new side of that with like this influx of creativity? Like how can you sense that you've changed as an artist and as a vessel?
That is something that I'm chewing on even more, because like you know, it's again Humboldt, man. Hey yo, everybody watching this, go to Humboldt.
Somebody got to go back to Humboldt, man.
I'm going back to Humboldt soon, very soon. Well,
I think the point of what Humboldt is over enough times is like to be able to create that space within yourself too. You know, like you don't. It'd be beautiful to go see your dad again in Humboldt, but like you don't want to have to go all the way to Humboldt to experience him again. You know, have you felt him again at all since then? I know it was only last week.
Since then, no. But yeah, the thing that I was chewing on is that like somewhere along the way, I don't know where, and I'm trying to figure this out, whether it's through reflection or rest. And that's something that I gained from my trip from Humboldt, is that when you rest, you actually gain things. I always thought that you gain less because you're resting, you're sitting and idle. So like,
No, it's a
yeah,
story. It's a story you got to retell yourself, man.
yeah. And so the somewhere along the way, I lost like this boldness to me. Now I'm like, nah, nah. Y'all gonna experience Chris Siders to the fullest extent.
Wow.
And I had a conversation with a friend before Humboldt actually, and he was telling me how things kind of fell into place when he omitted communication with his folks, with his family, and how that fell into place with like romantic relationships, platonic relationships, and things like that. I remember I would half-ass my truths to my parents because I was so terrified to say how I truly feel, or how I truly feel like, getting hurt by a situation or and whatnot. So for example, I would be, hey, yeah, that hurt me. Can you not do that again? All right, cool. Instead of saying, hey, that hurt me. This is how it impacted me. Let's talk about it. I'm not used to that. You
Damn.
know,
And
it,
so, to make sure I understand correctly, your friend said that when they started having those conversations with their parents, it opened up everywhere else.
mhm.
Damn.
And so, yeah, it just really makes me think. It's wild. It's
It's
wild.
making sense for me too, man.
They
God damn.
the relationship that you have with your family and your parents is a direct correlation and reflection of how you're gonna treat others and how you're gonna maneuver in life. That's what I took from it, and that's what I learned. That's it's a mind fuck. It's a true mind fuck because like the pre relationship that I was in, I didn't say exactly, yo, I feel hurt. I I feel hurt, and this is how I was affected. I just said, hey, I feel hurt.
I think you need to repeat that earlier line you said. The way that's just huge, and I think we got to give that space. But the way you treat your parents is reflective of. Say that line again.
How you treat your the relationship that you have with your family and especially your parents is a direct correlation of how you're going to maneuver and navigate your relationship with other people. Your family, I mean not your with friends, your romantic relationships, your business
Every
partners.
other relationship you have in your life, teacher, boss.
Because again, like when I felt hurt about things regarding my parents, I just said, hey, like I feel hurt. Can we yeah, and I would just like be too scared to be super vulnerable. But then in my romantic life and even my platonic life with my friends, I would just say, yeah, that hurt me. Can you not do that again? Instead of saying, hey, that hurt me, that and this is how it impacted me. Let's have a discussion about it.
Empowering yourself more to give yourself more reason, not
Mhm.
like more, not validation. I just lost the word saying it, but um it's like, yeah, it's comes from a place of empowerment more so, because it's not just like, hey, stop. It's like, no, stop, and this and it is. It's an incredible amount of empowerment. Yeah.
It's it's again, and this falls under the whole thing of abundance. Abundance doesn't necessarily always mean that like it's like wealth or like a huge gain in like opportunity. Is also a lesson. It's also a lesson because having that conversation, that's part of the abundance. That's learning how to maneuver in life. That's more valuable than an opportunity to me. It's
One
you're
hundred
teaching me.
percent agree.
Yeah, you teaching me something that I can't learn on my own. That I can't learn from an opportunity of like a gig, you know.
And the thing is, abundance doesn't even necessarily mean like you have all of it in the world. It just means you have plenty. You have enough. You
Mm-hmm.
have, like, damn. Um, It certainly can mean money, but it doesn't always have to mean money. Yeah, that's powerful, man. That's some powerful wisdom right there. And I'm the same. I think ultimately, as spirits, they always say we're spirits having a physical experience as opposed to being physical beings having a spiritual experience. And so, since we're spiritual experience, since we are having a spiritual, since we are spirits having a physical experience, yeah, I've been under this understanding that yeah, we come here to grow. Like Earth is our playing ground. This is our arena. We got nothing but lessons to grow and learn every single day. And that's what we come here to do. And I think the more we tap into that, the more we can tap into that abundance you're talking about.
I agree.
Hmm.
I agree. Man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, but
I think it's just really, I think it's really telling. Not, it's really, yeah, it is telling and it's beautiful and it's really awesome that, this conversation started in a really heavy place of grief and we're still there, but we're on the other side of that.
mhm.
And it takes so much to see that other side. Like it takes a lot of loss to be able to see it, but it also takes a lot in your own personal perspective to allow yourself to go there. And so I just really want to acknowledge you for that.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, like the thing is with time, that old ass cliche. My OG always told me it's only a cliche because it's true. Time really does heal. It does. But the key difference is that people like to believe that time doesn't heal because they're not actively trying to heal. They think sitting in idle is what's gonna heal it. Like, oh, okay, like I'm gonna just like sit here and like not do anything, like and just let course. But you gotta actively do the work.
Yeah, I was taking this class, right? And the instructor was talking about because the instructor is like a death doula. That's one of many hats she wears, and so she works with families a lot. And there was a family she was working with. The husband, the dad, the father of the family, he was diagnosed with a terminal illness, and he only had months at that point, but he refused to talk about it. He did not want to talk about it at all, and so like the family's like freaking out trying to like figure shit out, and he doesn't want to talk about it. And then so he ultimately decides against everyone's advice to go with this really risky surgery that would kind of give him either a very small chance or wouldn't even be worth it. But it was his last ditch effort to still not want to talk about it and do this surgery and to finally like in his denial of death and what was happening. And after the surgery, it didn't work. And then so, but he needed to have that experience to finally sit down with it and be like, okay, now I can talk about it. But people are going to have their own method of getting there for
Yeah.
sure. And so, yeah, being stagnant probably isn't always going to do it. But we all have our own unique path and footprint. Something, and I haven't done this homework for myself yet, but something powerful she said. She's like, if you look past in your life, and if you look at all of the different experiences, deaths of either deaths of people, deaths of relationships, like we said, there's all these small deaths we have to practice around us every day. But if you notice the pattern that death takes in your life, there's always the pattern of what is born from it. And that's basically the pattern we're going to continue until we die. And so I might as well figure out what that pattern is now.
That's crazy. Damn. Damn.
Yeah. And so that's why I said I haven't done that homework yet. So I don't want to make it sound like it's me dropping these bombs, but that's something I got to do.
I kind of noticed a small pattern.
I had a feeling you would. I had a feeling you would get something right away.
I noticed a very small pattern, and this is like in relationships with significant others in the past, not the most recent, but and how when I make the decision to cut people off, everything comes in. You know, I remember in 2019, uh, there was just someone. Things just was not working. It was just really bizarre. And at the time, I was like, man, I need a job. Like, why I can't get a job? Nah, nah, nah. I cut this person off. The next day, I got a job. Bizarre, right? Random, right?
Making me think I got to cut off so I can get some money.
Hey.
Hey, Chris. Hey, it was nice talking, Chris. I got to.
Hey, yo, you know what I'm saying? Like, when I made certain maneuvers recently with distancing myself from people, I met more people. It's easier to process. Energies have to come and go. I think that's the thing that's going on here. We kind of cling on to certain energies. We cling on to them.
Well, I think you're doing it a disservice of just calling it energies instead of just saying because when we say we're clinging on to energies, what we're really doing is we're refusing to let something die.
Yeah.
And
no, I agree.
Yeah. And so once you let that part of whatever it is die, that new life is going to spring up. And that's so true.
And I'm horrible at letting something die. I'm bad. I'm bad.
Most writers are, homie. Most writers are.
Man, that be getting me some shit. I need
to get a pen right now.
Yeah.
Nah, I feel that, man. It's and that's back to surrender. You know, to surrender and know that there is something that you're not gonna be able to fight that. That's the ultimate rite of passage we have as humans, is dying, especially now because we don't have any ceremonial rites of passage anymore. We have like a high school graduation, we have like drinking a beer, but that's fucking nothing. You know, as far as giving this this sacred acknowledgement and surrender and being with like this force of life that is going to give in to death, and then that, you know, they're a symbiotic relationship. You know, life is there for death and death is there for life. And so we've gotten so far from that that it's hard to come to these lessons and conclusions that you've been coming to. You know, because imagine going the rest of your life without this insight, without letting it change you.
Yeah. And that's the beauty with these like situations and these challenges. Instead of just fucked up and but then how else you gonna learn?
Exactly.
Every situation is that's what it is. It's literally a challenge. And this is something I've written in my blog post today. Who the fuck
to read that?
Oh yeah, I'll send it to you. It's called Emancipation.
No, you did send it to me, but I hadn't read it yet. You sent it to me in IG, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I just hadn't got to read it yet. I'm like, damn, why the hell didn't I read that right now? Like,
it's all good. It's all good. And see, the thing that I pondered on is, who the fuck said growth is extravagant? Who said growth doesn't come with like pain? Growth is fucking pain. It's painful. We all talk about growth as something that's like in like the positive, the feel good. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't feel good. It doesn't.
It fucking does not. I was just thinking about that earlier too. I was like, yeah, because I've just been really hard on myself for like not handling all of this growth shit that I've been going through well. And it's like, this is what I asked for. This is what it is. You think it's gonna be easy? Like, it's not. Like, this is not gonna be easy. You know, like, because I've been lagging on this podcast. Like, I've just been getting my own shit in my head about putting out episodes. You know, I got like 3 or 4 other interviews that I need to edit and put out that I've had since last year. And it's taken me a month since I put out the last one. And today I was recording the intro for it, and I was just like, I was being real in it. It's like, man, y'all, like, thanks for being patient with me. I was like, I really thought it'd be easy when you had a plan of like going after your dreams or going after, you know, taking risks for yourself and shit. But like, no one ever talks about how hard that shit is. Like, it's some of the most exciting shit you'll do, but you'll never feel more doubt than you've ever felt. You'll never feel more imposter, more exhausted, more drained, and it's like just lost. And it's like, what the fuck am I doing?
That like people, yeah, yeah. It kind of baffles me sometimes. Like, we sacrifice a lot for this shit every fucking day. What we do, like, people. I'm just speechless on this subject. Like, I'm truly speechless. Can't even find the fucking word.
This is the nectar. I think that's a good segue. I think it would be a crime. I know I've asked if you had like some lines to recite, but like, yeah, I feel like we need a Chris Siders performance, like a poem or something to like just kind of embody all of this.
Okay. All right.
Especially if you're speechless, you know, let the art speak. Let the art.
Okay. So I'll do this poem. It's called Mockingbird. And when we speak of vulnerability, and like emotional intelligence, when I was in Oakland giving a workshop, the people that attended the workshop, they was like, this is really unique because like we're usually just taught how to write a poem versus being emotionally connected to the poem. But then with poetry, you got to be emotionally connected to what you're writing because you want people to like resonate, right? Or to like really believe what you're saying. So
that's true. Because I was just saying that the other day too. I was like, nah, you got to inspire yourself before you try to inspire other people.
And that comes with being vulnerable with yourself.
Exactly.
So how can you expect to be like vulnerable with your community when you can't be vulnerable with yourself? And that's like a huge, lesson. Again, half-assing truths. I never showed my parents, my family, none of my poems. They haven't even heard my first album because I don't allow them to. They was like, oh yeah, you dropped the album? Yeah, I dropped the album. Don't listen to it. But in a room full of strangers, I say
Same, man. My mom just heard one of my poems for the first time.
How was that experience?
She loved it. I performed at Sims Library for a friend's book launch, and we were there for my mom's birthday in LA. I had already committed to performing on that day, and they're like, okay, we'll just drop you off. And then she's like, no, I'm staying. Like, I want to watch it. I was glad. It's like, okay, like I haven't been able to muster up the courage to offer to share stuff for you, but like, I guess I can allow you to see me doing this in public. Yeah.
Actually, I take that back. They saw me perform at a graduation ceremony.
Okay.
For Monterey when I was a student. But yeah, that was like the only time. But yeah. I'm gonna do this poem and my battery is on 15%. That is crazy.
And I know computers usually die before it gets to 0.
Yeah. So
all right. Turn down the brightness real quick. Turn down the brightness.
Shit. That's crazy. Okay, for sure.
I turned down the brightness so you can't see it on my glare on my glasses. So the screen's all dark right now.
I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna start doing that. I never thought of that technique. That's wow. Okay, bet.
But I mean, you gotta come to terms with that. Like my screen's a lot more dim than it could be, but I can also see. So I can still see, but Anyways, yeah. So, Mockingbird.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah, here's the poem.
Let me mute myself real quick.
A closed letter to my current crush. Your smile frightens me like many before you. Cautiously traverse on stars to fall as your wish. Catch me in flesh, step is dangerous. Everyone bear witness. Me, black. My stomach became a graveyard of butterflies of how my cursed skin is undeserving of marriage. You are too dark for anyone to marry. Your skin is the color of shit. This is coming from black people, so I need for you to listen closely. Don't waste your time. Spring semester 2013, 19 years old, a woman named Nicole who barely knew me turned to her friends after watching me perform and said, one day, I'm going to marry that guy. Continue to prime my side with a simple question one late night. What is your story? Awkwardly pulling tales from a little black boy from an abusive home, not understanding death at 4 years old as he grips a skull to show that he is not to be fucked with. She has left me feeling seen as an introduction to intimacy. The first step to kill a mockingbird. Construct a cage founded on trust to my current crush, no matter how much I got to know you over the past few weeks. Your encouragement and compliments just translates to fall semester 2014, 21 years old. Nicole created distance, gaslit my suicide attempts under the street lamps, taking on my burdens. The allure of a first kiss, misinterpreting intention, saying you would go inside my brain and erase yourself from my life experience. It turns out that you're just a power tripping white woman seeking revenge on men who harmed you in projection. String along monsters on what's hidden in my pocket. See, the second step to kill a mockingbird is to isolate and make them feel alone. Chris touched me, he won't leave me be. Walking to my friend's room, leave lipstick marks on his cheek. Smile as a present to make me jealous and give the idea that I'm somehow obsessive. The devil in a new dress made everyone that once claimed to love me suddenly absent. Stated that with Chris' violent past, he could hurt me or any woman. Title IX gave me 24 hours between two choices, either admit to the charges or get taken to court. In other words, swallow the bullet away publicly by rope my niggas to my current crush. The shrapnel shifts inside when confronted with intimate decisions. Forced to clip butterfly wings for the guilt and shame that built up inside me, because when I see me, I see my grandfather sexually abusing my grandmother, my own mother in the corner watching her brother spot to kill him. All I see is the time that I called my female classmate a bitch and the time I almost taken a life with my bare hands. So for the final step to kill a mockingbird is to permanently damage their voice and let others tell the story. And I know that this is not me, because white feminists contributed to this Handmaid's Tale song by America. So I ignite myself on fire to let these feelings melt before your eyes. To my current crush, I beg of you, please stop wasting your fucking time.
Damn, bro. That was a ride.
Yeah.
Mm.
Time where I was falsely accused of sexual assault. College, Monterey Bay, which adds to the wild ass full circle moment, right? You know,
oh, that's right. The whole graduation hasn't happened yet. That's coming up, right?
May 19th, Chris Sodders in the fire choir. Wow. Crazy. The whole community was against me. I lost 80% of my friends, you know? And the thing that helped me remain together is my authenticity. I didn't change up after that. It was just, you know, I still got class, I still got work, I still got shit to do. You ain't gonna stop me. Just like my dad said, never let anybody fuck with the money. And that's including her.
Damn, bro. So you haven't even experienced what this new life's gonna bring.
It's gonna be fucking wild. I already know, cause like here's how I view my experience with Monterey. I feel like Monterey is a reflection of what's to come. So like I gained a lot of notoriety in that small town, that bubble, you know. And when I was on the come up, people like recognized me and all this other stuff. Like I literally had families coming up to me saying like, I remember when like my son first saw you when he was like 3 and 5 years old. Now he's like 13, 14 years old. And like, he still remembers you. He still talking about you. I'm like, oh shit, that's crazy. And this is multiple families.
Wow.
And when I was down on my last dollar, riding the bus and shit, people was asking me for a fucking autograph. I don't even know how to fucking, you know what I'm saying? I'm trying to like,
You better pay me for this autograph.
I should have definitely charged. Like, you know, and it's wild because like at the time, like I was definitely paranoid. I'm like, I don't know who's like after me. Like, I'm out here trying to eat. And so let's take that. Now I'm out of that environment. And I'm growing my name as an artist. What is the bigger world gonna look like? And
this is the prequel, bro.
This is the prequel.
This is the prequel. The misadventures of Chris Sider is just the prequel. Yeah. You got a few more prequels.
Hey, see, people be making them motherfucking jokes about the misadventures. Hey, that's some real shit. That's some real shit. I have so many stories. Like when I was on my way back home on the drive back down to Humboldt, it was like, yo, what happened? I was like, bruh, y'all don't even know.
Listen to the album.
Honestly, yeah, like listen to this next album. Y'all know.
No, man, I can't wait to hear that. How can first of all, thank you again for sharing that poem, for sharing everything you've shared. Yeah, when is this the album that you're releasing at the end of the month?
Or
is that a different one?
This interview come out, the title might be out there, but I don't want to get the title.
Okay, no worries. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah, but yeah.
Yeah, man, I usually have one last closing question, but if there's anything else that you feel like you want to share before we go there, yeah,
just in case my battery died and shit.
Oh, that's right.
It's at 14, but it's cool. It's Gucci. I think the fucking kind of light thing really.
The what? You kind of broke out there for a second.
Turned out the lighting on my the monitor. So
the brightness. Yep.
The brightness. But yeah, chrissiders.com. Sign up for my newsletter and y'all get the exclusives and shit. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'll have all that in the show notes. So the last question that I've been trying to end most episodes on is hypothetically, imagine that you're going to bed tonight, and when you wake up tomorrow, you are going to forget everything you know about being an artist. Everything you know about writing, everything you know about performing, everything you know about being an artist, you're going to forget. But before crashing out tonight, you can give yourself advice on a Post-it note with everything you know today. And so what is the advice you would give yourself?
Let everything flow. Let everything flow. If I were to forget everything, no artistry, no nothing, and I were to panic, let that shit flow. Because like, all right, let's say that did happen.
Okay.
What can I do?
Not a damn thing.
Exactly. I got to keep living life.
That is coming from someone who has surrendered.
I'm telling you, that fucking forest did something.
Now you got to go back with shrooms. No, I'm just kidding. You're gonna come back with 5 albums.
I mean, shit, I'm still writing and recording, y'all. I'm still making shit. So, the only thing that's been difficult to make is a poem. It's easier for me to write song. It's really easy for me to write a song.
I'm gonna need to pick your brain on songwriting, because that's something I've been wanting to try.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Yeah.
But yeah, let it flow. You got to live life, because the thing that I always struggle with being in the business is not letting myself live life.
Not enjoying.
Just not enjoying it.
Yeah.
And again, the lesson with humble, I learned to just enjoy shit.
It's powerful, man.
To the slam, you know what a buy-in slam is?
A buy-in slam. We just pay to participate. I don't
Yeah. So
pay to
like
compete.
you pay, and winner takes all that money.
Oh,
All
instead
the
of a
money.
third or second place having money, the first gets all the money. Interesting. How much are those buy-ins?
The original, and it was 18 poets. The original buy-in, they didn't go for this because it was like too much money. The original buy-in was gonna be $50, and it was 18 of us. That's a lot of fucking money. And I was like, shit, I'm crazy enough to like think I'm the shit. So fuck it. I'm throwing my hat in the ring.
Hell yeah. I think now I would probably go for that. Asked me a few months ago, I'd be like, nah, I'm cool. But now I'm like, nah, fuck it, let's do it.
Yeah, they lowered it to 25, but it's still a lot of money. And you know, it was definitely tense, and it was really tense in that fucking room. It was mad tense. Because people was like winning.
This was in Humboldt? Where was this?
This was in Humboldt. People was winning by decimal points and shit. Like I'll tell you this. So you know poetry slams, the highest score you could get is the 30. Fifth place 29.4. No one got a perfect score.
Fifth place got 29.4.
Yes.
Damn. Yeah, dude, those decimals do it, bro.
That's crazy.
I went out for my first slam last month, and I would have won, but I lost 1 point from going over the time, and that took me from, I don't know, like down enough to where that took me down to like third or fourth place. And yeah, those decimals matters is what I'm learning. Those seconds matter too. You better shorten up, take 2 lines out if you have to. Don't get proud about sharing that whole poem.
That shit's badass. Yeah. Oh my goodness.
Damn, man. Well, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
This was a pretty epic conversation. Thanks for sharing everything, and yeah, looking forward to your new creations, putting those out in the world, letting them do their work, letting them flow.
Man, thank you. It really helped me process. It really helped me process like everything. I'm still trying to like put into words how I feel about everything, and just even wearing this like chain, like, and this is my dad. In this. He's a huge football 49ers. And this chain is specific. My mom got him this, I believe in high school. They're high school sweethearts. And so he never took off this chain. The day he passed away, mom gave me this chain. He was wearing this chain. And I never left the house with this chain. I mean, with this chain, like
without it,
yeah, without it,
yeah. Well, one last quick question then, because I don't think I ever asked that, but like, if anyone's listening that is experiencing everything similar to what you've been going through, you know, losing so much family, dad, grandparents, cousins, friends, whoever else, yeah, I guess what if they're having trouble seeing things the way you learn to see them, what kind of advice would you have for them?
Give yourself time.
Yeah.
Give yourself time. Don't do none of the shit that I did. No, not that. Like, I have such a horrible habit of putting myself first. And again, like when I was out there this past week, when I took that long ass 6-hour nap after I spoke to my dad in the forest, I've been feeling a lot more at ease, a lot more happy. Because I finally gave myself time. I was dealing with bullshit after bullshit. After my dad passed away, again, like, I wasn't giving myself time. So you got to give yourself time.
I love that.
And work when you're like giving yourself time. Work on the different things that that you can improve on, or the different affirmations you could tell yourself, saying like, no, I am abundant. Don't sit in idle time. Sitting in idle time, it could be a discouragement because you're just sitting there waiting. Don't wait.
Well, I think there might be a difference between sitting there and waiting and sitting there to sit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah, sitting there. Okay, so waiting, when I say sitting there and wait, like I meant it in the sense of like people not
Like waiting for their
their
problems to
emotions.
solve themselves.
Exactly. Like they're not feeling their emotions. They're just sitting there, just to
Yeah.
sit there. And that's what I mean. Like when you put in work, feel what you need to feel and deconstruct that.
I just finished writing a poem the other day with a friend. I'll just end it with these last lines, but it goes like, don't you see? You are right where you need to be. You're seeing what you need to see. Please grieve what you need to grieve so you can believe in what you were born to achieve. Oh, damn. Well, everyone, I think his computer went out, so I'll just leave y'all with that. Thank y'all so much for coming in. Please follow Chris Siders, and we'll talk soon. Thanks, y'all. And so Chris's laptop died, so we'll leave it at that. I hope you got some good stuff from this episode. There was so much we talked about. This is some of the deepest stuff of life for sure. And I want to thank Chris again for coming and showing up the way he did. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.